The ultimate B2B lead generation strategy. Welcome back to a fresh episode of Breaking B2B. I'm your host, Sam Dunning, founder over at breakingb2b.com. Oh, and if you haven't yet, why not join thousands of legends enjoying my weekday emails for unusual B2B marketing strategies, SEO case studies, fresh podcast updates, and more. Head over to breakingb2b.com and hit that newsletter tab. So joining me today, I've got John Stewart. John's the founder over at Min-Max Media. John, welcome aboard. How are we doing, sir?
Hey man, yeah, really good, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Certainly is. Looking forward to this one. So we're diving into all things B2B lead gen. So folks tuning in, marketers, founders, revenue leaders can nail there. It's quite a timely one. We're recording this early 2025, so I'm sure a lot of folks are looking for ways to fill that qualified sales pipeline and fuel their sales teams. So let's dive straight in. First and foremost, why is it that so many B2B companies fail to drive a consistent stream of those qualified leads, demos, or signups?
Yeah, I kind of, for years, I didn't know that answer. And it came to me probably about 3 or 4 years ago, like properly really grasped it. And we had all the same sort of experiences that a lot of people have where they try stuff and a lot of it doesn't work and you don't understand the reason why. But then some of it does work and you don't understand why that works either. And it looks like that when you look at other people as well. You're like, how are these people working and these aren't? The reason why, the best way to explain it is with an analogy which comes from my past, and it's in relation to dating, right?
Okay.
So I used to be useless at dating. I couldn't get girls. And I remember once I was in a bar with someone. There was a girl who I really liked. I kind of knew her-ish. And there was a girl I really liked. Anyway, I said to my friend Smithy, I was like, Smithy, I like that girl. I don't know what to do. What should I do? And he just said, well, I mean, you like her. Go up to her and ask her out on a date. And I was like, that makes perfectly logical sense. So I went up to the girl and I was like, hey, do you want to go to the cinema? And she went, no. And I went, okay. And I just walked off, like, tail between my legs. Just like completely ruined. And I was like, I don't understand, because I wanted this thing and then I went and asked for the thing, but it didn't work. And that is the same thing, and the reason why it doesn't work for most people. Most people go into the interaction wanting to take from it without building up any trust, without sort of any context or anything up to it. They just go straight for the kill. And that is fundamentally the problem that repeats itself over and over and over again. And obviously there's ways around that which I can talk through.
Let's dive into that a bit more first. And in enjoying that analogy, so reminds me of my earlier days before I was married. Just failing consistently in bars, nightclubs, and I was certainly much the same. So I'm not gonna make any grumbles for that. So you said B2B companies don't take first. You got to earn the right, earn the trust.
Essentially, yeah.
Before we dive into the strategy at a high level, what does that actually mean practically?
So basically, there's a little graph I've put together, and I'm going to use the dating reference again because it's my favorite reference. Because realistically, it's exactly the same. Like the principles. I actually eventually managed to get okay at dating, and all I've done is taken everything I learned from that and applied it to lead generation. So basically, this is kind of what happens, right? What most B2B companies do is they will go in and immediately, like it's like the DMs you get on LinkedIn where someone connects with you and immediately sends you this wordy just bit of text, and it's like, hey, we do this service and do you want to have a call to work with us? That doesn't work because you haven't had enough touch points with that person or enough trust. The reason it works elsewhere, and the reason why that is maybe advised in some places, is because the context is different. So for B2C, that kind of thing can work. Like if it's something really mundane that costs £5 and it resolves an immediate problem, it's a tangible thing, you don't need loads of time or trust for them to buy it. You can just see something on the shelves at the supermarket and be like, yeah, I'll try that.
Okay.
But for B2B, it involves usually way higher price points. It might involve you changing your processes internally. It might involve like relationships that potentially last a year or 2 years. Like it's a big commitment. So you can't go in with that same thing. So the level of trust that's required is so much higher, which is why I've got this graph here for the people who can see it. Time and touch points build trust. They build familiarity and trust. And there's two core rules that you can exploit, as it were, to use that in your favor and make lead generation work way, way, way more effectively. So um, the shift that happened for me in our own business, where I think we used to have something like 4 inquiries a year from our website, and now it would be the equivalent in a day, if not more, was basically just understanding this principle and then using these two things called the 7-hour rule and multiple hits. So have you heard of these?
No, break
Okay.
it down for us, Sean.
It's shown in different ways all over the place, but basically the 7-hour rule is that it takes roughly 7 hours of interaction with someone for you to feel comfortable enough with them to go to the next level of or step of a relationship.
Yeah, I've heard similar ones.
Yeah,
Like there's like different folks that have X amount of hours or days
yeah.
or seeing someone X amount of times, that kind of stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah. So that's basically the principle. Now the problem is, and in the dating analogy, what that would look like is instead of me going up to that girl who I went to go to the cinema with, I would go up there and I would just talk to her for 7 hours, and then I would ask her if she wants to go to the cinema, right? Or whatever that might be. The problem is that is really hard, especially in like a B2B setting. There's so much stuff going on. If you got a prospect and then got them on the phone for 7 hours, they probably want you to leave. So you can't hit those 7 hours in one block. You just can't do it, you know? It's really tough. And don't get me wrong, there's maybe ways you can with like workshops that roll over days where they have to sign up for a workshop or something, but I don't know, it's tough. So there's another rule called multiple hits, which basically allows you to warp the perception of time. So if dating analogy, if I went up to that girl in the bar and I spoke to her for 10 minutes by the bar, and then we walked over to the seating area and we spoke for 30 minutes there, and then we left that venue and went to a different venue and we spoke for another 30 minutes there, all of a sudden that's less than an hour, but it feels like I know this person way better because the context of where I saw them changed. So basically, it warps our perception of time with the shifting of context and location, which means we can hit that 7-hour rule way, way, way faster. So principally how this works is we want to build up enough trust that they feel comfortable enough to buy, or at least to make a decision. It might be the decision's no, that's absolutely fine. But to get there, we need to exploit the 7-hour rule, and we then need to use multiple hits because 7 hours can be somewhat unrealistic, or if not unrealistic, more difficult. So that's principally why it works, you know?
Yeah. So is 7 hours just something that's been kind of proven by someone in the past?
I actually don't know where it came. I read it in a dating pickup artist book when I was 21.
I'm noticing a theme here.
Yeah. So I read it in a book when I was like 21, and then I found a lead magnet again when I was like 21, when I was really interested in this stuff, which talked about multiple hits.
Gotcha.
But then, so that became a thing, and then I applied that to lead generation because I was like, well, if I take the same framework, it might work, and it did. But then I learned that other people had already done that, and I think it originally came from marketing and they took it to dating. So I don't know where it came from, and I don't know why it's 7 hours, but I think that's just the number everyone decided on.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. So 7-hour rule, but we spread that across multiple touch points, multiple hits, rather than just one failed swoop. Are you tired of competitors ranking above you on Google, stealing traffic, leads, and mindshare from dream clients every time they're searching for your services or offers on Google? At Breaking B2B, we fix that with our unusual approach to SEO, content marketing, and websites. We craft B2B SEO strategies and websites for revenue, not vanity. Head over to breakingb2b.com to check our results, pricing, or to book a call with me. So that's that. What's next to actually bring that to fruition? So we understand at a high level kind of where companies might be going wrong.
Yeah.
And we understand perhaps how we need to then build trust with our potential clients, our target prospects.
Mm-hmm.
How do we put that into play?
There's 3 steps. So I've been working on this for, well, technically I started my company in 2012, and the first few years were like meh, and it took me a long time to understand the stuff. But for the past 5 years, I've been putting together a system because I wanted to figure out how you actually implement that principle reliably. It's called the Control Growth Framework, and it is the culmination of millions in ad spend, working with hundreds of clients, generating hundreds of thousands of leads. So basically, this, in my mind, is the most simple, efficient, and effective way of building that trust and turning someone from a stranger into a client. There are 3 core steps, and these core steps align with the 3 core problems that most people have. So the first problem that most people have is their messaging sucks. Like, it's just not appealing. And that's the same thing I said before, where it's more take energy than it is give energy. So it's those websites where you go onto their site and their whole site is just them talking about how they're so great. And again, if you go back into the bar, if I walked up to someone I didn't know and I just went up to them and told them how amazing I was, and on top of telling them how amazing I was, I wasn't presented well, I hadn't showered, and my clothes were ripped. That's the equivalent of bad messaging. If your messaging is wrong, then the foundations aren't even there, and therefore none of the tactics you try or are seeing, like the manual outreach or the ads, none of that stuff works. And it's not because the ads and the outreach don't work, it's because you have a fundamental thing beneath that is broken. So the first step is the messaging's wrong, or your messaging is self-serving, it's self-centered. So the first thing we do is we help people clarify their messaging. So come up with a good offer, give a lick of paint over your website, your like LinkedIn profile or whatever that might be, and basically change and reframe messaging so it goes from being about you to about the person. Like, it's more focused on that person's pains, that person's desires, what they're interested in, and that makes a huge shift.
Yeah. Something we see time and again in my game in B2B SaaS SEO. You've just got to flick onto a few B2B tech companies' websites, and it's the usual culprits. Like, we've won this amount of awards, or we've gained this amount of funding, or we've been running 25 years, or we're the best solution for this niche. And it's just like, it's so generic that prospects land on it and think you just sound like 1,000 other companies. Like, I want to know quickly what you do, how it helps me, why I should pick you, and how to learn more and take the next step. So like you said, that's a quick win, but I say it's a quick win. It does involve some research, right, in terms of kind of knowing your customers' pain points, goals, jobs to be done, and all that good stuff.
100%. There's one thing I find genuinely hilarious with this, is that the worst culprits are usually marketing agencies. It's so funny. You go onto their websites, because I never used to know this, right? So I would think, like, when I was first, I used to really struggle to get clients. I mean, it was all network and referrals, and nothing I tried worked for years, and it was so frustrating. And I remember thinking, who knows this stuff? Like, who could I emulate? And I thought, marketing agencies have to know, that's their job. So I would emulate marketing agencies' websites, and nothing. Like, I'd be like, but I verbatim almost copied the principles, the structure, didn't work. And then I realized most of them, I mean, not all of them, some of them are very, very good, but like most of them haven't got a clue. So that's why they can't bring their clients results, because they don't understand these fundamental principles.
Do you have, I completely agree. Like, marketing agencies, web agencies, a lot of them are terrible. And a lot of them don't have great systems, actually, from a demand or inbound engine side.
They rely on network and referrals, and then they sell something that they can't themselves do.
Completely agree. Now, when it comes to the messaging side of things, is there a framework that you encourage folks to follow so they can actually make sure that their messaging does resonate with kind of those focus clients, those dream clients' pain points, goals, or what they want to achieve?
There is. It's a bit more in depth than what I can tell you in like 2 minutes, but yes, essentially, the core of it is, it's like being a doctor. Your job, as whatever you are, is to dig into the doctor's role is to find out the person's problem. and then assign the correct solution. Because there's a million and one different medications you can give to someone, but they only have one actual real problem. So a bad doctor assigns the wrong solution to the wrong problem, and then there's no result. A good doctor, their job is actually to ask questions, find out the right pain, like, oh, okay, you've got this, that, and the other. That means you have this ailment, and if you have this thing, it will fix it, and then it works because they're correctly aligned. So fundamentally, your messaging has to speak to the person and call out their pains in as specific a way as possible. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Once you've called out their pains in as specific a way as possible, ideally articulated better than the person could articulate it themselves, they will believe if they understand my pain, then they must know what my solution is. Because if you understand the pain, you must understand the opposite of that. So fundamentally, that's it. And then obviously you need to talk through what the solution is in the same manner you talked about their pain.
Got it. Yeah, we'll keep it high level now because I know there's several steps. There's 2 more steps we still need to run through. One thing for our audience, either watching or tuning in, we have got, if you search for Breaking B2B Ryan Paul Gibson, that's going to give you a B2B customer research masterclass, which is going to help you ask the right questions to your past clients, either closed won, closed lost, to get that juicy intel that we're talking about. And then the second episode I'll point you to will be the ultimate B2B homepage guide. So if you search that either on YouTube or your podcast player, Breaking B2B, the ultimate B2B homepage guide, you're going to get insights on the research from Ryan Paul Gibson and insights on your homepage messaging and beyond for that side of things. So messaging, we don't want it all me, how great we are, how awesome we are, how cool we are. We're going to focus on dream clients, what they actually care about. And usually that's solving problems that are expensive, that are frustrating, and those that linking it to those outcomes that they actually want to get done.
Cool. Yeah, and as you said, the best people to ask are existing clients or previous clients people who didn't close. Always, yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so that's the messaging side of things. Is there anything else we need to cover on that before we move on to the next step?
No, high level, that's it. There's obviously more depth, but high level, yeah. So do you want to talk through the next stuff?
Let's go for step 2.
So once you've got your messaging sorted, then you need the systems to bring people into you. Now there's 4 different ways. I think I have it on here. This is from Alex Hormozy. There's 4 different ways you can. Do I have it in here? I might not. No, I don't think I do, unfortunately. I have it somewhere else. But there's 4 different ways you can, or 4 different ways you can acquire clients. It's from people who know you one-to-one, people who don't know you one-to-one, people who do know you one-to-one, and people who don't know you one-to-many. That essentially correlates to warm outreach to people who you know, cold outreach to people you don't know, content, which is people who you do know, or ads, which is people you don't know. One-to-one, one-to-many. It's like this grid. The easiest of all 4 of those to get responses from, to get closes from, is one-to-one people you know. So basically, people who are already in your network are familiar with you because, do you know why?
If they're in your network, I'm guessing because they have some trust in you already.
Boom, yeah. So they already know, like, and trust you to an extent. So it's just way easier to bring them through that process. So the first thing we want to do is essentially run a campaign to people who are in our existing network. The way this works is something called the Pipeline Reactivator. It's a limited time campaign that you run for a limited time period. And instead of pitching the person, so basically this would look like sending DMs to people or sending emails to people who are in your existing list. But instead of asking them if they want the thing, you ask them if they know anyone else who wants the thing. So you're basically asking for referrals from your network. What actually happens is that instead of them, you only target people who would potentially be interested in your offer. So what actually tends to happen is those people themselves will be like, oh, I might be interested in that. And to be fair, if they're not, you can get some referrals out of it. So the first thing we look to do is a pipeline reactivator, just because it gets you some clients really quickly through the door, or at least that's our system. After that, we look at manual outreach. That's the one-to-one people who don't know you.
So
So
pipeline reactivator, just because I'm aware some people will be listening on audio as opposed to looking at the visuals on YouTube.
yeah,
Is there a quick example you can give? So let's say, so pipeline reactivator is we're basically picking out folks that fit our dream client profile,
yeah,
and then we're popping them a message. They're already on our network, so maybe on LinkedIn,
yeah,
email, or
yeah.
whatever channel we've got them on.
Hmm.
And then we're basically saying, do you know anyone that might be a fit for XYZ?
Yeah.
Is there like a framework to that message, or is it quite straightforward, kind of straightforward ask, or?
It's very similar to the manual outreach stuff, but basically you tell them, you say, I'm looking for people who want help with pain point, problem that they all experience. And then you say, we have this short-term offer. Would you like to learn more about it? The offer
Mm,
is usually something like, it would be usually something like a discount, or we'll give you an extra service for free, or you'll be part of a case study group and get extra attention if we can use you as a case study, something like that, but something that's limited to a select group of people, but they get extra benefits or savings or value.
understood.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. So once that's done, you then need to move on to one-to-one outreach to cold people. The reason you go in this order of one-to-one warm, firstly, that's the easiest way to get wins. The reason you then shift on to one-to-one cold is because it's very, very cost effective. It is way more saturated. Like cold email is super saturated, cold outreach super saturated. So you need to change up your approach, but the approach is the most important part. If you get the right approach, it will still work, and it does still work. So to do this, what you do, or what we do at least, you search LinkedIn Sales Navigator for qualified leads. You would then rip lists of leads, and then you would do manual outreach efforts where you would send them an email. And we use a video pitch outreach method whereby we'll essentially send them a video of us pitching our services or reviewing something we can see externally. And what this does is it's a low barrier of entry. We're not asking them to get on a call. We're just offering them something for free to start a conversation, and then we upsell to the call after that initial free thing. So again, not going in asking straight for the kill, going in offering some value, and then slowly stepping people up in terms of commitment.
Mm. Is that on your end? Is that a tailored offer to the prospect, or is it more a general kind of high level overview of what you do, or something that's useful specific to them, or?
How do you mean?
So, an example, if you're watching on the video, you've made your prospect list in Sales Nav, then you're doing some outreach to a prospect.
Yeah.
That the asset that you send them, is it tailored to that particular prospect,
Yeah.
or is it a general one that fits that persona?
Yeah, very good question. We've done all the different types, and it's a sliding scale, unfortunately. So you can try anything. If it's specific to each individual person, it is way more time intensive, but it's way
Mm.
more effective. So it depends what you have more of. If you have time, you would want to go with everyone is tailored. If you don't have time, you'd want to go down the route of recording one video and sending that same video to everyone. But it is less effective. So there isn't a right answer. It depends on
Yep.
your exact situation.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the asset you send, it's a video on a landing page, is it, or is it?
Yeah, so traditionally what we've done, and this would vary depending on your service, but we would send
Sure.
a video looking at like their LinkedIn ads or looking at their
Hmm.
landing page, and we would just usually like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, there's something glaringly obvious that's very, very easy to fix that they just probably aren't aware of. So
Yep.
we'll just send them a message saying, hey, we've done all this testing, we've spent all this money on ads, we've done loads of A/B tests. I'm going to tell you this one thing, and if you change it, your conversion rates will increase. And it has to be easy. So we just send them that and say, there you go. If you would then like to learn more about our service or have a call about how we could potentially work with you,
Nice.
then you can book a call.
Okay, so it's essentially highlighting a quick win.
Yeah, essentially. The
Cool.
the other way you can do it, because not everyone can do that. Like, obviously, this is what we do, but not everyone can do that. So the way around that for other people is something like a case study. So you could say, we helped, and then someone they know who's like big in their space.
Mm.
So we helped Canva achieve XYZ result, and you give tangible results. So like 30% increase in conversion rates on whatever. I recorded a quick video showing you how we did that for them. Would you like me to send that over? So if you can't do something specifically to them, you can talk about a case study of one of your other clients and send them that instead.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So We've got there is also some content in there, but I'm not going to cover that because I don't think we have the time. So that covers warm one-to-one, cold one-to-one, and then what we want to move on to, there should be some one-to-many warm, which is content to nurture existing audience. But what we then move on to is ads. And the reason it's in this sequence is what a lot of people do is they think ads are like a magic pill. So nothing has worked so far. Like, for example, SEO didn't work for us. Google PPC didn't work for us. Cold email didn't work for us. Ads must be the solution. So they skip all the other stuff and goes to ads with huge levels of excitement. They try it and it falls flat on its face and doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because they haven't followed the path. So they haven't got their messaging right. And then they haven't been through the grueling experience of testing that message and finding what works. So we like to get to people to the point of ads because ads are very predictable. They are very, very scalable. However, if you go straight to ads without getting your messaging right and you test your messaging in the cold outreach, then you're testing stuff that is untested. And as a result, you will end up spending a lot of money going through these cycles of testing little tweaks to find out what works, like testing the offer to see if it works, or the hook in terms of the pain, you know? So what we want to do after we've got all those other elements set up is move on to ads because it's scalable, and all we're doing with the ads is taking what already worked in the cold outreach or in the pipeline reactivator, and we're just applying that same principle to ads, essentially.
Okay. So when we say we're kind of reapplying the same principles of the activator and the sales call engine,
yeah,
does that mean we're kind of setting up in our ad campaigns to distribute this content? Because I know if you're not watching, if you're listening, like you've got some nice screenshots of some LinkedIn ads that you've built out and some landing pages and some lead forms and stuff like that. So perhaps you can, for folks that are maybe not that familiar with kind of, I guess, retargeting or serving folks ads, maybe you can give us a quick walkthrough of what that looks like.
Yeah, so essentially the core thing is the offer. So like what you're pitching people, and the importance of getting the offer correct is that it goes throughout the whole process from attracting the lead to actually closing them. Like that's the biggest thing in terms of making your marketing work and even getting sales. Like more important than your sales skills, more important than your marketing skills is simply what you offer, who you're offering it to, and like the price points. So or ideally, once you've got that offer, all you do is you push that offer through ads. So you just set up ads in an ads manager with that offer, and all the messaging you found works elsewhere. Like we know you're struggling working in your business all the time rather than working on it. Like the same things that people say that click with people, you put that into the ad, and then you run ads to either a lead gen form or a landing page sequence, and that will push people through that process automatically, essentially capturing their information. We always use video in our sales process. So they'll watch a very quick video explaining how things work, and then pushing them towards a call. So basically, you're taking the system that you were doing manually and making it more automated. It is more complicated than that. There's more to it, but very high level, that's essentially what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. And are there any common mistakes that when your clients, folks in general, try and put these three processes into play, that you see, that you want to make sure that anyone watching or tuning in here is not going to fall into that trap?
It's kind of the stuff I've already covered. Like it's bad offer, messaging that's all about them. They're the two main things, I'll be honest. So it's not actually usually about anything technical. Usually it's about something a bit more fundamental.
Got it.
But there are little things like they don't. Another massive one is volume. So basically, with like I spoke to someone I think 2 days ago, and they had done a bit of manual outreach, and they're like, it just didn't work. And I was like, okay, well, how many like emails did you send? And they were like, I think we sent about 33. And I was like, right, okay, you send like 150 a day, like minimum. Otherwise, it's just not worth your time. So like little things like that, like people will try and approach, or they'll run ads, but they're like, we put £100 into the ads and it didn't work. And you're like, yeah, no, you need to start with like 3K just to test it. Like, so basically people don't commit enough. Everything works, obviously. Like if you look at it logically, Facebook wouldn't exist, LinkedIn wouldn't exist if they weren't getting their money from something, and you can't sell something that fundamentally doesn't work for everyone. So ads have to work, cold outreach has to work, otherwise they wouldn't be valid approaches. The reason they don't work for you is either the fundamentals we spoke about, or you're just not putting enough volume in to go through the iterative cycles of learning what is right and specific to your exact niche, like your exact audience, your exact offer, to make it click. So that's one of the other big things, just not committing enough and not doing enough volume.
Something we see a lot.
Yeah, it's huge.
Nah, it's yeah, I think it's just companies struggle when it's especially something they've maybe not tried before.
Yeah.
One, giving it a fair test and experiment, and then two, either putting aside resource if they've got resource in house to give it a good shot, or parting with cash investment wise to give it a good shot. Because like you say, it's the same old stories, isn't it? We tried a few $100, we tried a few $100, and it just didn't work. Well, it's like that wasn't a fair test, especially on a platform like LinkedIn,
Yeah.
where that's going to get sucked up in a matter of days.
Yeah, minutes. So, yeah, but it's like going to the gym. Like you go to the gym once, you'll feel worse. You won't feel better. You feel horrible. Everything hurts. So, but then it's consistency. So yeah, it's just not giving up and going through it. It will work, and failure in a particular approach doesn't mean it's never going to work. It means you've just learned something that is getting you a step closer to it actually working. So you need to see it as testing rather than failure.
Awesome. Good stuff.
So what we learned happened, right, is essentially you have the messaging, then you have the acquisition of the lead, which is what we just spoke about, but then you have to actually convert the lead into someone, right? And this is where the 7-hour rule continues. We need to have systems in place to allow us to take that lead, show them that we care, show them that we're better than our competition in terms of our offering, and then actually convert them. So the last step is build trust and convert. And this, I'll be honest, is where we saw the biggest. All of these 3 steps are where we saw massive increases in results, essentially. But this was huge for us. Like I remember we had a LinkedIn ad campaign running and it was doing okay, but when we implemented this last step, we had campaigns that were hitting 8 to 10 times ROAS. So like very, very, very effective, and this was the reason.
So we've got nurturing and follow-up flows. Perhaps you can give us a quick kind of breakdown of what's entailed in those.
Yeah, so within Build, Trust and Convert, we've got Nurture, Autopilot, Follow-Up, Flow. Nurture Autopilot is using native remarketing or omni-channel remarketing to people who've interacted with us. So what this practically looks like is, let's say someone saw our ad or got our cold email and they clicked through to our website or they clicked on our ad. We can create an audience of those people on LinkedIn or Facebook, and then we can remarket to them. So that every single time, and I think you experienced this with us, because I think you mentioned to me that you constantly see us, you're in our remarketing pool. So every time you log into LinkedIn, or not every time, but hopefully a lot of the time, you see our ads. You see my face over and over again. And the reason is because you've been to our website, so we put you in a pot of people and we just send you content. And the content is very, very targeted. So the content is educational content about how we work, about how they can start to resolve their problems. It is content that handles objections that come up in the sales process, so you can start handling those objections before the sales call or during the sales process. Common questions people have in the buying cycle. And then you also have stuff just purely there to build trust. So like we use a lot of comedy skits. We find that works particularly well for us. Just stuff that's there to brighten people's day up. So we're using content to multiple hits, 7-hour rule, keep building that trust. So that's Nurture Autopilot. The follow-up flow is the one-to-one version of that. So what usually happens is someone will get a call in their diary and then they just sit and they wait for the call, and then no one shows up to the call, and then you're sat there like, why is no one showing up to my calls? It's infuriating. And the reason they're not doing that is because, yet again, they're not bought in enough. They just don't feel committed enough to you. And the way you deal with that is you essentially use automation in terms of email and SMS automation to send scheduled messages, and those messages firstly remind them of the call, and then they also do things like selling the call. So you have email sequences prior to the call explaining this is how our system works, here's some freebies, here's some case studies of other clients, so that by the time you actually have the call with the prospect, they should know what your service is, how it works, they should trust in it and know that it actually does work, and they should basically have already made a decision as to whether they're going to buy or not. That's the goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if anyone's listening as opposed to watching, John's got a flow here whereby these prospects are getting certain emails or messages with various offerings, where it's a video rundown or example. I'm guessing there's some case studies and all that kind of good stuff. So essentially it's layering trust throughout the process. So folks are consistently getting stuff, not just random messages, but stuff of value to say, look, this is some recent results, or maybe this is a walkthrough, or this is some how-tos, or this is some tips specific to the offer that you've come inbound to work with us on. So by the time they get on that call, they're already kind of pretty much sold, in the sense that they trust you enough, and then it's more deciding if it's a fit or not.
Yeah, essentially that's it. The sales conversation should be about the nuanced detail, not about this is what we do, this is how we do it. Yeah.
Which is ideal outcome, isn't it, for B2B companies? You don't want to be pitching yourself non-stop on the call. You more want to understand the prospect's world, their goals and motivations, so you then tailor the offer as opposed to trying to do a hard sell.
Essentially, yeah. Yes, one.
Good stuff. Good stuff. John, very much appreciate you running it through. Do you want to give us a quick rundown of those core steps? Just fly through those core steps quickly, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So essentially what you want to do is, first off, you want to clarify your marketing messaging. Once you clarify your marketing messaging, that increases the effectiveness of all of your marketing channels and gives you a strong foundation. Next, you want to set up a sales call engine, which is going to allow you to generate sales calls with qualified leads. And then once you've got that, you should have leads coming in. We need to focus on building trust and converting. And that allows you to convert the leads easier and with less manual interaction.
Legend. I really appreciate you going through the framework. Like I say, that all the visuals would be on our YouTube for Breaking B2B. So if you're listening in, it might be worth going back and checking that out. So with that, John, please do tell us more about how anyone tuning in can get in touch with you, your website, and any other channels you want to promote.
Yeah, so if you want a bit more of a detailed rundown of this, I have a free guide that shows you firstly all the visuals, and I go into a bit more depth. If you send me a DM on LinkedIn just saying growth, so it's John Stewart, JOHNSTEWART, send me a DM saying growth, and I'll just send you a link to the training so you can just see it all in full and reference it if you want. We also have a YouTube channel called John Stewart Marketing with loads of videos and specific guides over there. And then our website is minmaxmedia.com if you want to get in contact or potentially work with us. But yeah, the system, I'll give it to you for free. If you want to work with us and help implement it, you could just get in contact via the website.
Beautiful. We'll put all of those links in the descriptions below. And with that, thanks once again, John. Really enjoyed the breakdown.
Yeah, cheers, bro. It was a pleasure.
No worries. And as always, if you enjoyed today's episode, why not join thousands of B2B legends enjoying our weekday newsletter? Head over to breakingb2b.com, hit that newsletter tab to get those unusual tips, ideas, case studies, and insights. Thank you very much for tuning in. And with that, we'll catch you on the next one for more no BS B2B marketing tips and insights to grow your B2B company. See you soon.